First, you'll want to loosen the contrasting yarn so that you can pick up the stitches easier and be able to count them. These stitches here will be needle 1, pick up all 3 cast-on stitches, and here I have my 3 cast-on stitches on needle 1. I now have a total of 5 stitches on needle 1. With needle 2, I pick up 6 stitches for the beginning of the thumb, row 1. And with needle 3, I pick up the remaining 5 stitches. Here I'm pulling the contrasting yarn up so that I can make a hole large enough for the needle to be able to hold the stitch. Once you've picked up all the stitches, you're going to remove the contrasting yarn. On needle 1, we need the last 2 stitches, so we will pick them up. This picked up stitch will go on to needle 3. And the second stitch I'll pick up with a crochet hook and carefully try to put the stitch onto the needle. And these 2 stitches will go on needle 1, completing what is necessary. We're supposed to have 2, 3, and 2 stitches, equaling 7. But here I have 8, so I have to redistribute the stitches on the needles to have the correct count of 7, 6, and 6. I'm going to move 1 stitch from needle 1 to needle 3 to make sure that all needles have the correct stitch count. Begin to knit with a loose loop of yarn with the tail long enough to weave in, knitting all knit stitches and purling all purl stitches. Here I've listed the rows to work on the decrease and the needles and their stitch counts. It's very important to recount after each decrease row. I've copied down in my own handwriting vital parts of the pattern I can look at a glance, and I'm able to count after each row how many stitches I need on each needle. You want to knit the next 4 stitches. Then once you've completed that, you will knit the next 2 stitches together. Your next stitch is a knit stitch. It counts as your first stitch of the knit 4, knit 2 together, or purl, depending on what stitches you're on. So this is a knit, but it will be stitch 1. The next will be a purl, stitch 2, and so on. Here I'm starting the purl row, but the first stitch is stitch 2 of the knit 4 stitches then stitch 3, stitch 4, and then I'm going to purl the next 2 together, and then purl the last stitch on this needle. The first purl stitch is stitch 2 of the 4 I'm supposed to knit, then stitch 3, and stitch 4. And then I'm purling 2 together. Afterwards, purl 1, which is the last stitch on needle 3. Row 2 through 4 equals 3 rows to work. This is my shorthand for knit all knit and purl all purl. Then you just make your scratch marks on how many rows that you've completed as you go to keep track. Row 5 is a decreased row like row 1, knitting 4, then knitting 2 together again. Needle 1 has 5 stitches, needle 2 has 4, as does needle 3. On needle 1, I'm knitting the first 4 stitches. And then I'll knit the last 2 together. For needle 2, you want to purl 4 stitches. Then you want to purl 2 together. This means a redistribution of stitches to be able to maneuver the needles better. I'm going to slip the last stitch from needle 2 to needle 3. Then I'll continue on to needle 3. I'm purling the first 2 stitches on needle 3 together. Then I'll purl the last 4 stitches